life, wisdom.
So today is Thursday, September 27th, 2012 in Austin, Texas, and I'm John Breeding. And we're going to commence with part 5, the final part of my new book, Leaving Home, The Journey from Birth to Emerging Adulthood. So part 5 is about leaving home as a young adult. And chapter 12 is 3 chapters in this part, and the first is chapter 12, which is specifically on emerging adulthood. This chapter was contributed by Shelley Howard. In fact, Shelley's the inspiration for the whole book. She was a student of mine in a human development class a couple of years ago. She wrote this killer paper on emerging adulthood, and I was like, whoa, this is written for me, because I have been in the midst of dealing with emerging adulthood for several years with my 3 emerging adult children. And it was just amazing to see the way Shelley laid this out, and it gave me a lot of understanding and appreciation for myself and for this phase of life and for Shelley. And I invited her to, a while later, it came to me to write a book on this subject, and invited Shelley to be co-author, and she declined. She had other great adventures that were more significant. Right now, in fact, she's woofing. And you know, woofing, it means working on organic farms in places around the world. And she's woofing in Europe somewhere. I don't know where exactly. So she's off to great adventures. But she did contribute this chapter. And so, unfortunately, she's not here. Fortunately, she's woofing in Europe. But a lot of what I share with you about emerging adulthood is going to be in her words. And you'll have to get the book and read the chapter to get the full story. But first, as always, I want to start with a few epigraphs from my friend Leonard Roy Frank. The first one is from one of my favorite authors, Barbara Kingsolver. And it's just a simple statement. It says, "Kids don't stay with you if you do it right. It's one job where the better you are, the more surely you won't be needed in the long run." There you go. The next couple are from a couple of spiritual and political heroes. The first is Mohandas Gandhi, later known as the Mahatma. But this is when he was a young guy in India in 1920. But it speaks to the fact that leaving home can be tough and almost a moral imperative when home is a cruel place in some ways. According to Gandhi, if a father does an injustice, it's the duty of his children to leave the parental roof. If the headmaster of a school conducts his institution on an immoral basis, the pupils must leave the school. If the chairman of a corporation is corrupt, the members thereof must wash their hands clean of this corruption by withdrawing from it. Even so, if a government does a grave injustice, the subjects must withdraw cooperation, wholly or partially, sufficient to wean the ruler from his wickedness. So leaving home at whatever level, means becoming a person of integrity, and that means standing up against injustice. And if it's your parental injustice, then getting to the point where you can leave home and live your own life in a more just way. Dorothy Day founded the Catholic Worker, a great activist on behalf of particularly people living below the poverty line in this country for many, many decades. As you come to know the seriousness of our situation, the war, the racism, the poverty in the world, you come to realize it's not going to be changed just by words or demonstrations. It's a question of living your life in a drastically different way. I included this quote because it's my view that coming of age today means coming of age in a world that is very unjust and very distressed in many ways, and that makes it all the more challenging for young people. It's important not to reduce leaving home strictly to the psychological dynamics involved. I'm a psychologist. I can speak to that. We do speak to that in this video series. But there's a bigger aspect of becoming a person in the context of the world that you live in.